VPNs, Tor, and virtual machines often appear on the same anonymity tools list. That creates a tempting idea. If we enable all of them, we must be safer. They actually solve different problems. A VPN changes the network exit. Tor makes network correlation harder. A virtual machine separates applications and files from the host. A disposable environment limits what remains after a short task. Log into a real account and a complicated route can still identify you immediately. Start with an unauthorized objective, and no tool can turn it into an authorized one. This lesson is about making a threat-driven choice, testing it, and knowing when to stop instead of adding one more product. I want to be more anonymous is too vague to configure. If the destination should not see the home IP, that is an exit problem. If a public service is available only in a certain region, that is an access and service rule question. If several observers should not easily connect multiple visits, that is a correlation problem. If an unknown attachment must not affect the everyday computer, that is content isolation. If no long-lived session should remain, that points toward a disposable environment. Recruitment verification may contain two goals at once. Do not expose the home exit, and do not allow unknown job files onto the host. A network route can help with the first. It does not solve the second. The more precisely we define the goal, the less likely we are to choose the wrong control.
A VPN sends traffic through a provider's exit before it reaches the destination. The site usually sees that exit rather than the home network. Your identity does not vanish. A real social login identifies you directly. Existing cookies, the browser fingerprint, and behavioral patterns remain. The VPN provider also becomes a new trust party and may observe connection timing and source information. Its ownership, jurisdiction, and terms matter. Do not stop at a no logs banner. Test what happens when the tunnel drops, where DNS goes, whether the client starts reliably, and whether the exit region conflicts with the account language, time zone, or task scenario. Treat the VPN as one network control, not as a complete anonymity system.
Tor uses multiple relays so that one point is less likely to see both the source and the destination. That can be appropriate when the mission has a genuine network correlation concern or a lawful need to reach onion services. Most practical failures come from behavior. A user signs into a real mailbox, installs unusual extensions, mixes everyday browsing into the session, or opens a downloaded document on the normal desktop. If that document loads an external resource through the real connection, the earlier routing protection may be bypassed. There are operational costs as well: slower access, more CAPTCHAs, and blocked services. If a reliable public source is available without Tor, the extra complexity may add little. When Tor is justified, default settings and discipline separation usually matter more than customization.
A virtual machine addresses a different concern. It places the browser, applications, and task files inside another operating system, which is useful when stronger state separation or controlled file handling is needed. Look carefully for bridges back to the host. Shared clipboard, folders, drag and drop, USB, and personal cloud storage can reconnect both sides. The network normally still comes from the host, so a VM does not automatically conceal the home exit. Snapshots can return the machine to a known state, but an old snapshot may also restore an outdated system, stale accounts, and unsafe settings. Before a task, verify updates, sharing features, network behavior, and the evidence export path. A VM reduces certain risks. It is not an absolute sandbox for every malicious sample.
Some tasks are short, higher risk, and do not need a stable identity. Starting from a clean image and destroying the session afterward can reduce long-term correlation. The obvious failure is destroying first and remembering the evidence second. Screenshots, URLs, timestamps, hashes, and action records must be exported and checked before disposal. The export route also needs control. An unknown file should not be dragged back to the host merely because the temporary session is ending. For a multi-week observation, repeated disposal may lose evidence and produce inconsistent behavior. A maintained long-term environment may be the better choice. The task duration should shape the environment.
Now put the controls on one diagram, but draw traffic and files as separate paths rather than stacking logos. A low-risk public page may need only a separate browser and data minimization. Add an appropriate exit when the home network should not be visible. Add a VM or remote analysis environment when an unknown file becomes necessary evidence. A short higher-risk visit may justify a disposable workspace with strict evidence transfer. State what each layer owns. The VPN handles one part of the exit. The browser profile handles session state. The VM handles applications and files. If the first control fails, describe what the next one still limits. Complexity creates routing, DNS, time zone, clipboard, and sharing errors. A stack that can be explained and tested is more useful than a stack with more tools. Many isolation failures begin with an ordinary switch left on. Before connecting, confirm system and browser updates, real account login and synchronization, DNS and WebRTC behavior, time zone and exit region, shared clipboard and folders, drag and drop and USB, download and cloud sync destinations, snapshot availability, stop conditions, and the responsible owner. Record actual values, shared folders, disabled, real accounts, none, exit test, passed, and file export, control directory only, can be reviewed. A single tick beside checked cannot. Run the check again after updates, tool changes, or a move from passive viewing to interaction. Yesterday's result is not permanent evidence. For the recruitment account case, begin by removing goals we do not have. We are not visiting the dark web, building a long-term anonymous persona, bypassing a restricted area, or conducting specialist malware analysis. The actual requirements are narrower. The target should not directly see the home exit or a real account. Public material behind login should be viewed in an isolated session. Unknown job attachments must not reach the host. The evidence requirement is also modest. Writing the non-goals makes the environment easier to choose and easier to verify. The case can begin with a separate browser or remote workspace, a network exit appropriate to the mission, and a controlled download rule. Real accounts, synchronization, shared clipboard, and shared folders remain disabled. Unknown attachments are rejected. If an attachment later becomes essential evidence, pause the session and move handling to a controlled VM or an authorized security specialist. Tor is excluded because the task has no onion service requirement and no high anonymity interaction. Explaining why a tool is unnecessary is evidence of judgment, not an incomplete setup. At the end, preserve the required evidence, record residual risks, and retest network and file boundaries. More layers can create less visible mistakes. VPN and Tor are combined without understanding the route, so DNS takes an unexpected path. A VM mounts a personal cloud drive and transfers an unknown file to the real environment. A Tor session signs into a real mailbox. A disposable workspace is deleted before evidence export. A tool update changes behavior while the team trusts an old test. The shared problem is the absence of a boundary map and current validation. Every added layer requires account, network, file, and transfer tests to be repeated. Do not assemble a secure-looking environment from memory. Some conditions call for a stop, not another tool. The target requests identity documents. Continuing would require bypassing access controls. An unknown executable or high-risk macro document appears. Real identity is exposed. Harassment becomes persistent or moves toward offline contact. Preserve the current page and necessary records. Stop interaction. Disconnect. Document the event and notify the owner. Malware analysis, device anomalies, and real-world threats belong with an authorized team that has the right environment. Stopping is not a failure of the plan. It is one of the controls in the plan. For a new assignment, use 5 columns: goal, threat, tool, test, and boundary. An entry might say, unknown attachments must not execute on the host, so necessary inspection occurs only in a controlled VM. Tor is excluded because the task has no onion service or anonymous interaction requirement. Then add pre-connection tests, post-session checks, residual risk, stop conditions, and the escalation owner. Always include what the stack does not solve. A VPN does not remove account linkage. A VM does not correct inappropriate interaction.
Tor does not create authorization. Clear limits keep tools in their proper role.
Choose a minimum environment for 3 assignments. The first is an ordinary public company website. The second requires a platform login to view public posts. The third involves receiving an unknown document sample. For each one, write the goal, minimum controls, pre-connection tests, residual risk, and items that are not applicable. If all 3 answers contain the same tool stack, the choice is still being driven by tools rather than risk. Lesson 27 turns the lens toward the investigator. We will ask what another person can assemble from public search results, reverse image matches, old accounts, documents, and relationship clues.